This video was created by VinylicPuma of VinylicPumaGaming.
Hey guys, so I'm back with yet another Nuka World DLC weapons video for Fallout 4, and today we're going to be looking at and attempting to deconstruct the paddle ball weapon. And this weapon was featured frequently throughout some of the Nuka World trailers, and I figured it would be cool to do an analysis of it. But based on some of the analysis that I have done so far, I think I can conclude that the paddle ball can become a decent and possibly even a great weapon. However, it's ultimately held back by its ammo. While I usually wait until later on in a video to discuss a weapon's location, if you do decide you want to experience or acquire the paddle ball, you can get the paddle ball from the Nukacade in Nuka Town, USA. All you will need is about 500 tickets to buy the paddle ball. If you're short on tickets, the quickest way to get tickets would be to play the shooting minigame called Bandit Roundup. One or two tries should net you enough tickets to purchase a paddle ball. Now, as for the paddle string, you can buy one string for 50 Nuka tickets each. And speaking of ammo, paddle string is both one of the best and worst ammo types in Fallout 4, so let me explain here. So as far as the stats go, the paddle string has a good weight at just 0.014 pounds, and because of that, you should be able to carry roughly 71 paddle string per pound. 71 ammo per pound is actually really good and is roughly on par with and possibly even exceeds 38 caliber ammo. And assuming you are able to just buy paddle string, its in-game value is one bottle cap, so it's relatively cheap as well. However, just like the acid soaker ammo, paddle string is extremely impractical. As far as I can tell, you can't craft paddle string and you can't buy it either, and the only way to acquire some is to purchase it from the Nukacade with your Nuka tickets. Now, like I said earlier, it's 50 Nuka tickets for just one paddle string. While the Nukacade does restock paddle string, it takes like 3 in-game days for it to do so. And honestly, I think this is a shame, as the weapon can actually be pretty decent, especially when fully upgraded to use the Weaponized Nuka Cola. So now that you know that the paddle strings are too rare to even be viable, let's talk about the weapon itself, because the weapon itself is actually pretty good. Regardless of upgrades, fire rate, range, and accuracy remain consistent. The fire rate always appears to be 25, the range always appears to be 11, and accuracy is always 151. And magazine size for the paddle ball is always 20 as well. And when it comes to in-game value and weight, you do get some more fluctuation. The value seems to range between 10 and 50 bottle caps, depending on your upgrades, and then the weight seems to range from between 2 pounds and 3.5 pounds, once again, depending on how you've upgraded the paddle ball. When it comes to damage, things can get a lot more complicated. The first several upgrades are pretty obvious, and if you view the item card, you should easily be able to tell how much damage each one deals. Now, the stock paddle ball deals 1 damage per paddle string. The spiked and blade versions deal 3 damage per paddle string. The electrified version deals 1 plus 10 from a combination of ballistic and energy damage, and again, that is per 1 paddle string. And then finally, the flaming version appears to deal 1 plus 15 from a combination of ballistic and energy damage, and again, that is just for 1 paddle string. Now, based on the damage numbers alone, I think you should avoid all of these. Maybe you might want to use the bladed or spiked versions. The bladed version's actually semi-decent because the bleed damage can stack pretty quickly if you manage to get a lot of shots off, but honestly, your paddle strings are rare as crap, and I don't think you'd want to do that. But we can't forget about the weaponized Nuka Cola variants of the paddle ball. As you probably have noticed, these versions don't list damage on their item card. However, the order of strength is Nuka Cola, Nuka Cherry, and then the Nuka Quantum variants. And despite the fact that you don't get a specific damage number listed on the item card, I was able to extrapolate the amount of damage these Paddle Ball variants deal by spawning Mirelurk Razor Claws with console commands. And for those of you that don't know, Mirelurk Razor Claws have 215 health, and what I essentially did is I recorded how many strikes with each weaponized Paddle Ball variant it took to kill it. So essentially, I actually figured out how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. Wow, that wasn't random at all. All jokes aside, what I found is that on average, the standard Nuka Cola variant took about 23 hits or so to kill a Mirelurk Razor Claw. The Nuka Cherry variant took about 9 hits, and the Nuka Quantum variant did it in about 5 hits. And I also experimented on the soft shell Mirelurk, which has exactly 100 health, and I found that the Nuka Cola variant killed it in about 10 hits or so, the Cherry version killed it in 4, and the Quantum version killed it in 2. I also did some other tests on some Brahmin and some Deathclaws, and I think Brahmin have a health of like 230, and Deathclaws are in like the 500s or so. But based on my findings, I'm going to give an educated guess and say that the Nuka Cola version deals about 10 damage per shot, the Nuka Cherry version deals 25 damage per shot, and the Nuka Quantum version deals 50 damage per shot. Another interesting thing is that the damage you deal with the weaponized Nuka Cola variants appears to deal the same amount of damage regardless of the enemy's damage resistance, so it totally ignores damage resistance, and that is pretty cool. It's also worth mentioning that weapon perks like the Gunslinger and Rifleman perks don't appear to have an effect on the damage potential. However, that said, the Bloody Mess perk does appear to affect the damage of the Flaming version only. As far as the Electrified and the Flaming versions go, I think if you had the T60 Tesla armor, or maybe you had some magazines that boost energy damage, you might even be able to improve the energy damage of both those specific paddle balls, provided you have those items. As for the weaponized Nuka Cola variants, I haven't figured out any way to increase their damage, beyond like the stock damage count. If we take my findings that calculate the damage of the weaponized Nuka Cola variants of the paddle ball, and then multiply that by the amount of bullets you can carry per pound, you can determine the overall efficiency of the paddle string ammo for survival mode. Now, the gap is really huge. On the low end, you get a pathetic 71 damage per pound. However, on the high end, you get an astounding 3,550 damage per pound. The only ammo types that are more efficient are plasma cartridges, and that's only on the Plasma Sniper version, and then the fusion cores for the Gatling laser. Now, when it comes to upgrade requirements for the paddle ball, you will need the following to max out the paddle ball. So you'll need a blacksmith perk level of 3, a science perk level of 4, and then for the weaponized Nuka Cola variants, you can only craft those once the player is able to craft weaponized Nuka Cola. For the sake of keeping this video as spoiler-free as possible, I won't tell you where the recipe is exactly. What I will say, though, is where would Nuka Cola develop something like weaponized Nuka Cola? At the end of the day, I really like the design of the paddle ball. It's a very unique concept, although clearly, because of just how rare paddle string is, this weapon is almost completely unviable unless you use console commands on PC. Damage-wise, the weaponized Nuka Cola versions are vastly superior to the standard versions, and will make the best use of your paddle string ammo. That said, you should wait and fully upgrade your paddle ball to Quantum to use that and make better use of your paddle string ammo. Hopefully, Bethesda will give us a way to just buy paddle string ammo. Otherwise, we'll have to use console commands or install some mods that fix paddle string. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this particular video. It's a shame that the paddle ball's ammo is so rare because it's actually sort of decent. But if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, and take care, and I'll see y'all next time.